there's still days when I wake up and I think, oh, like I'm thinking about things differently. And I
Mm,
remember the day that I realized that I was thinking in cogwheels instead of like
mm,
lists of differential diagnoses. Like it
mm-hmm,
was, oh, yeah, when this one turns, and that makes this one turn. Or when this one's stuck, that means
mm.
this one's going to be stuck. So and I can really start to get the sense of the balance. But now what's really coming up for me is the nuances. As medical doctors, we think like in big picture, we think everything has to be big and absolute and pharmaceuticals. And I'm really sensing how the dietary changes, the subtle dietary changes,
Mm,
the
mm-hmm,
yoga practice, like, and
mm.
not every day, like just getting that vagus nerve fed, maybe 30 minutes more of sleep every night is what it takes. It's subtle, right?
Welcome to I Think I Can podcast. My name is Luella Young. I am a woman who believes that we, like wine, get better with age. Age brings us wisdom, intuition, and a level of sophistication that is beyond the reach of youth. I am here to tell you that living a luxuriously rich and fulfilling life is in your reach. I Think I Can podcast will teach you to think differently in order to get different results. Allow me to show you how to do life effortlessly. This podcast is for the woman who is tired of playing by the rules of society, community, religion, parents, and partners. I Think I Can is all about becoming brave, authentic, purposeful, and strong. Listen weekly and you will find yourself living a life you could have only once dreamed of. Thoughts drive our physiology, so channel your thoughts with me into a life truly worth living. Enjoy the show. Welcome back, everyone, to I Think I Can podcast. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing you to a friend and a colleague of mine, another functional medicine practitioner. Her name is Beth Claxton, and Beth considers herself as a human on a journey. Her degree as a medical doctor and board certification as an OBGYN marks her path. Her curiosity led her to become a teacher of mindfulness-based stress reduction and an Ayurvedic Yoga Health Coach. Most recently, she became certified in functional medicine, and that's how Beth and I actually met each other, which felt like completing the circle to her undergraduate degree in biochemistry. And Beth has two daughters who are journeying in their own paths. Beth is from Northern Arizona. Okay, Beth, welcome.
Hi, Luella. Thank you for
Hi.
having me.
You're very welcome. I don't know why I haven't gotten you on here sooner, but I mean, obviously we live busy lives. Even today, I'm
Yeah.
trying to get Beth on recording this episode, and she was called into ER to do emergency DNC.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So this is Beth's life as a OBGYN. And so Beth, let's start off the episode with asking you, once in a while I throw this in, what is your most recent I think I can moment where you really had to go, universe, respond?
Well, before we start recording, I was going to say the functional medicine exam, because that was a huge step. And
Mm-hmm.
most people have been studying for 5 or 6 years before they take the exam. And I'd been studying for about a year and a half.
Yeah.
And I just did it. And it was during lockdown. And I think I had long COVID
Mm.
when I was taking the exam. And I just persevered and did it. And now I think I'd say my relocation to Sedona, I'm moving. And
Mm.
I went down there in January. My daughter's graduating in a month from high school, less than a month, a couple weeks from high school. I went down there in January, and it was pretty much divine intervention. Just said, like, this is where you're going to do your work. And I said, okay. So I'm
wonderful. I mean, I know
going through the house selling.
There's so well, okay, first of all, the functional medicine certification exam is, I mean, you are an MD, perhaps you sort of knew what you're getting into. Myself, I think that's the only way I got into it. If I had known what it would be like, and I mean, I didn't get it the first time. I think you got it the first time, right?
Yeah.
Somehow. Yeah. And, but we were both, I think all of us, just praying to the angels. And because, I mean, I guess what I learned through that functional medicine journey is that, like, even as an MD, as you're saying, it's just a whole, maybe we should explain it. It's just a whole new way of doing medicine, right? I mean, it's very practical, yet there's so much to learn. And it sounds like from your bio that you found your way home by taking functional medicine.
Yeah. And there's still days when I wake up and I think, oh, like, I'm thinking about things differently. And I remember the day that I realized that I was thinking in cogwheels instead of like lists of differential diagnoses. It was, when this one turns, and that makes this one turn, or when this one's stuck, that means this one's going to be stuck. So and I can really start to get the sense of the balance. But now what's really coming up for me is the nuances. As medical doctors, we think, like, in big picture, we think everything has to be big and absolute and, pharmaceuticals. And I'm really sensing how, like, the dietary changes, the subtle dietary changes, the yoga practice, and not every day, like, just getting that vagus nerve fed, getting adequate sleep, and maybe 30 minutes more of sleep every night is what it takes. It's subtle, right?
Yeah. Or, not waking up to an alarm, right? Allowing yourself to naturally fall asleep and wake up, rested, something. Yeah. It's little, but it's huge. And I think what you're describing there is realizing that the body is actually a system and not a bunch of silos and compartments. And I know when you said, cogs on a wheel, like, all of a sudden, like, flashback came from, the Krebs cycle and methylation cycle. It's like, oh my God. So how are you, and I want to come back to Sedona, by the way, but we'll do that later on in terms of the central nervous system, I think. But how did you change your practice as a medical doctor after you became certified?
It was gradually changing, and it actually had been for a long time. But it was slow, and then it just really started escalating. And I was really trying to compartmentalize, which, we know doesn't work very well. I was trying to start my practice as doing functional medicine and gynecology. And it didn't take long before I realized it's all the same thing. And if people come with a gynecologic problem, it really is a functional medicine problem.
Yeah.
It really goes back to diet and exercise and sleep and stress and relationships and hormones. And so, it's, I can't do one in isolation. Yeah. So I'm just do functional medicine now. And when anyone has a problem, I just say, this is how I approach it. I approach it as the entire system.
Yeah.
Because we don't know what's causing the imbalance, right? We've got to check everything.
Exactly. Yeah. So have your patients been responsive to that? Have they been receptive?
The ones that aren't interested go someplace else. And
Yeah.
usually by the time they find, when I'm working at the community center where I am now, the community hospital in rural northern Arizona, there's some people that find me happenstance, and it's totally exactly what they want.
Mm-hmm.
They want someone that will talk diet and exercise and alternative. Some of them just want a hysterectomy, and I send them on to my partner. And some seek me out, like, oh, I heard you were here, and I want to know what you're doing, because my friend said that she didn't have to have a hysterectomy.
Okay. Yeah. It's the answer is not always removing the organ.
It actually, I was thinking today, like just taking out the uterus keeps someone from exsanguinating, but all of those imbalances are still there.
Yeah.
There's still risk for heart disease and diabetes and hypertension, and the estrogen dominance is still there.
Yeah.
With the ovaries still in situ. And so, just addressing all of that still. Yeah.
So let's since you mentioned estrogen, let's talk about estrogen dominance. What are some symptoms or signs of a woman experience estrogen dominance?
So as we age, as we approach our 50s, we can look back on what it was like in our 30s. Mid to late 30s is when estrogen and progesterone both start declining. The progesterone falls faster than the estrogen. So that balance that used to be there is now off. And there's more estrogen than progesterone. Estrogen's inflammatory. We're pro-inflammatory. Progesterone is anti-inflammatory and detoxifying, relaxing. So you can kind of see where we're going with this. Like we become more inflamed. What happens when someone is more inflamed with estrogen dominance is they get PMS, more exaggerated. They get premenstrual breast soreness, bloating. They get endometriosis, right? Adenomyosis. So once you see it through this lens, it becomes quite obvious that all these women in their mid-40s that are having hysterectomies for fibroids and endometriosis and heavy bleeding and painful periods, it's all estrogen dominance. Actually, before the OR case today, one of the OR nurses was sitting on a stool, and I said, "You look tired." She said, "Yeah, I'm tired." And I said, "Are you in your mid-40s?" And she said, "Yeah." I said, "You're not sleeping well, are you?" She said, "No." I said, "Night sweats, hot flashes?" She said, "Yeah." I said, "They're keeping you awake, huh?" She said, "Yeah." I said, "You need to come see me. I know what's going on." She said, "Okay." So I mean, it's so classic. And everyone needs to know this is so normal. People are suffering in silence. They think they're going crazy. They think they're getting early onset dementia. And really, it's just brain fog from
No, I mean, I had a client today, like it's just like a therapy client, a mental health client. And like the memory is starting to go. I mean, she had a hot flash during our session, and she was 46. So it seems like, I mean, estrogen dominance would also sort of, would you not say it would be almost a precursor to early menopause, like in a way, or not really?
I call it perimenopause.
Perimenopause.
Known as the perimenopause. And the other thing I want to throw in there so people also think they're not going crazy is that estrogen is the hormone that helps us balance stress. Like it makes us stress resilient. So when the estrogen finally starts to decline, the closer we get to menopause, the adrenal glands they come in and they are helping with our stress resilience. And if Our
Right.
adrenal glands, if we've pushed them to the edge, then they're not there to really buffer the stress. And
Mm-hmm.
then we can have, cortisol dysregulation when the cortisol is bouncing around. Then we get like waist, weight gain.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
fat, the tire, the muffin top, when we've never had that before. And people try to lose weight by like fasting and exercising harder, which
Yeah.
just dysregulates the cortisol even more.
Yeah.
And they can't lose the weight.
Okay. So what do we suggest then for, someone who's in their mid 40s and they're having these symptoms, the brain fog, the almost like ADHD, hard to handle any sort of stress in their life, like
Mm-hmm.
the hot flashes, lack of sleep. So what do we do?
So what I did, this was about the time that I did my Ayurvedic certification,
Okay.
Yoga Health certification. There's a book called Body Thrive by Kate Stillman, and I teach that class and use the book as like the textbook.
Mm-hmm.
I started practicing those 10 habits, and they are things like drink water when you wake up, eat dinner early, go to sleep early when you get tired, wake up with the sun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, get some movement in within the first hour of waking, meditate in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
eat your biggest meal at noon,
Mm-hmm.
practice self-massage, do something gentle, with your body, get to know your body. And all of that is so nourishing for our hormones.
Mm-hmm.
It's more turning inside. And that was really, really huge for me. So I think that's the first step.
And how do you know, like, how do you know when too much is too much? Like you mentioned movement and exercise being important. And I know you're somebody who's physical and really enjoys moving. How do
Yeah.
you know when you're not overstressing the body? Let's say, during menopause or, like you say, those women who fast when they shouldn't be fasting, for example.
Right.
Like, what are some signs of overdoing it?
Yeah. So for me, like the waist, the weight gain on the waist, like this week that I've been working, I'm starting to notice that like my waistline's just getting a little thicker, and I'm like, it's been a stressful week.
Yeah.
And I realized that I was fasting too much.
Mm-hmm.
This was, several years ago. I was fasting for too long an interval. I was doing like 16, 18 hours. And I was getting hangry. I was feeling strung out.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't feeling nourished.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot of checking in.
Mm-hmm.
But if you feel like you're getting snappy or hangry, or you just want to like eat everything in sight, probably not very well regulated.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Even lightheaded or
Right.
yeah. And I think what people need to realize, I think most people know this now, but let's just say it just for the heck of it, is that when you are overstressing your body, you are causing more cortisol to, pulse through and having, whether that's through strenuous exercise, whether that's through stress, whether that's through lack of sleep, whether that's through toxic food, then your body, I don't care how much you run or swim or hike or fast, your body's going to hold on to the weight.
Yeah.
Correct?
Because you're putting it in a stressful position. Yeah. I want to go back to a question after we talk about this that you asked that wasn't completely answered. And noticing when we exercise. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Do you need a nap in the afternoon? Did you push too much?
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like kind of loopy afterwards, or do you feel energized?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I know. I remember those times. When I was probably early 40s, it would be so common around 1 or 1:30 that my head would just want to go like clunk right on the desk, it's just like, and I probably could be like drooling on my desk if I allowed myself to. And just to think that was normal. Everybody goes through this, like post lunch, or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, it wasn't like, for me, it wasn't that I was eating the wrong foods. It was I was doing too much, like going too hard at work, working out too hard. Like, it's like, it's, yeah, overdoing it overdoes it, right? So
and we know that when we exercise too much, then the vagus nerve, or we have cortisol dysregulation, there isn't that vagus nerve tone, and that helps with the hydrochloric acid secretion, which helps with digestion.
Right.
And then we're not digesting our food. And I found supplementing with HCl, whether I'm relaxed or not, and I'd say I'm usually not.
Yeah.
And that's been super helpful to keep, for me to be awake after a big meal and feel energized after a big meal and not sluggish.
Okay, so why don't you answer that other question more complete, and then, because I want to go into sleep and I want to go into constipation, because besides, I think, brain fog, this is the other thing that women approaching 50 and after 50 are struggling with. So
so in addition to the Ayurvedic habits that are helpful in perimenopause, some supplementation of progesterone can be very helpful. That's most women tolerate it really well, and women tolerate progesterone in various dosages. I like to start with a big dose of 200 milligrams. It's the recommended dose, actually. And if we start to feel really groggy on it, we can take it down to 100 milligrams. If that's too much, go down to 75 or 50. But play with it.
And
that can be really helpful.
What time of the day, and by what capsule? By what do you?
What I do, right now I am prescribing pharmaceutical because it tends to be affordable. Some women like it compounded. It's easy to get compounded. It's just a little more expensive. And oral is what I start with, because it's so detoxifying. It's anti-inflammatory. It goes through the liver. It goes to our GABA receptors in our brain. And I do recommend it at bedtime, because I know I can feel it. I take it, and a few minutes later, you can kind of feel like this, sort of settling into your brain.
Beth, in Canada, we can't get it. Like, we can't get it over the counter. It's not by pharmaceutical. We have to have it prescribed to us by a doctor and a compounding pharmacy.
Same here.
Oh, really? Same there? Okay. Okay. So, and I mean, I guess it makes sense, really. It's a hormone. It's something that you just don't like play around with. So you want some guidance in that. But
and some women need estrogen. Some women are having hot flushes. Some women need that support. And some women need some testosterone. The testosterone levels gradually come down from our mid to late 30s, and that can be a lot of the brain fog, a testosterone, DHEA, dysregulation, or just low levels, and it can help with strength. I know it's helped my athletic recovery, resilience, that muscle wasting that we get in menopause. And it's just really nice it helped me just feel like stronger and more on it and more capable. And, I'm not getting a mustache or a beard. I don't get like angry or acne. So those are the things we look out for higher levels of testosterone that are too high. But
do you
another wonderful one.
Do you just do a serum test for that, or do you do more of an in-depth functional medicine test for the hormones?
What I'm doing now is I diagnose on symptoms.
Okay.
And the history, it's pretty apparent.
Yeah.
The symptoms that they're having, what's low.
Okay.
And then after they've been on it for a few months and women feel like they're in a regulated place, then I do a 24-hour urine test.
Okay.
And that's who I'm studying with right now. I'm looking forward to interviewing some other people that are doing other ways of hormone management, just to know what everybody's out there doing, because there are a lot of people doing crazy things with HRT. And there's some people that are doing really prudent, well thought out methods. And there are several of those. So just learning all of it. No one knows exactly the perfect way right now. And I think there are many good ways.
Okay. Yeah. So kind of like maybe shop around a little bit. If your own practitioner, like if your own, like in Canada here, if your own general practitioner doesn't want to step into that, then just find someone who seems to be well versed in it and comfortable in using it and
yes.
just, yeah.
And the reason that we want to check levels is we want to make sure that women are getting enough. We can give women a low amount that'll alleviate the hot flushes. And there are so many other benefits to hormone replacement therapy. Osteoporosis prevention, dementia prevention, cardiovascular disease prevention, the muscle wasting, so many things like that, the brain fog, the vaginal atrophy. So it requires certain levels of estrogen and some testosterone to mitigate those long-term diseases, to help get those benefits. And we might not know, people might be not getting enough to prevent those things, but still not having hot flushes.
See, that's what I was asking though, like that you do some testing, but you said you just prescribe based on symptoms. So
I prescribe and then I monitor based on the urine.
Okay.
I follow urine testing.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. All right. So, okay. So, what do we want to start with? Sleep?
Sure.
Or let's start with sleep. Okay.
Sleep's a good one.
Beth, how's your sleep?
It's pretty good. I've been waking up. Well, it's hard to know this week. I've been getting up sometime between 3:30 and 5 lately. I go to bed at 8:30.
Oh, wow.
So that's 7.5 to 8 hours.
Okay, great. Okay.
Yeah.
You scared me there for a little bit, but then when you said you went to bed at 8.
Yeah.
Okay. So like our goal is anywhere between, do we say 6.5 or should we say 7?
Oh, I target 8.
To 8. Okay. Well,
sometimes people just say they feel good. They're getting plenty of sleep. They go to bed early and they just wake up at 7 hours. And if they're not having any problems, and you can't make someone really sleep early, or, sleep later.
No.
But if they're having some problems with, it seems like they're having cortisol problems based on their symptoms, if their cortisol is dysregulated, then I might recommend some phosphatidylserine taken at bedtime to help delay that cortisol wake response a couple hours.
Okay.
That can be super helpful.
Okay. So, okay. So how about, I don't know. Do you work with many women that are like 70 plus? Because both my mom and my mother-in-law are having a really hard time. Like they tend to wake up around, well, at least my own mom, around 2. And it's just so consistent. And have you had any luck with working with women 70 plus, let's say, that?
I know hormones, estrogen and progesterone are super helpful for sleep.
Okay.
That waking between 1 and 3 tends to be liver toxicity. And
okay.
Yeah. And how do we work with that? because as I see it, this was one of the sort of the concepts, the functional medicine concepts that I've been getting lately.
Yeah.
Is we've got this lifetime of toxins built up in our liver.
Yeah.
And they're starting to affect us. They're affecting our hormone metabolism and our microbiome and our liver and just the way it breaks down toxins. I'm super sensitive to scents now.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I mean, I agree a little bit more myself than I've ever had before, even though I love a good perfume. Like, I mean, I love it, but so let's say it is burden on the liver. What do you suggest? I mean, just listing out the some of the best foods to rid toxins of the body. Like, I mean, I'm thinking of beets. I'm thinking of,
Well, I think eating the rainbow.
Okay.
Getting plenty of greens and fiber every day. Going lean, fish and lean grass-fed beef and game. Maybe some organ meats to boost that, the mitochondrial cofactors. And then eating super, super clean. I've done Anthony Williams' liver rescue detox a few times.
Never heard of it.
It always makes me feel so good. He's the medical medium. It is hard because his take is that we need to withdraw from all fat for 9 days. And, someone with our build, like not being on fat for 9 days is hard.
Yeah.
And, that being said, the diet is super rich in the sulfur containing cruciferous vegetables, a lot of color, a lot of fiber, celery juice, every morning, lots of apples, dates. So if you're eating constantly, you can not be super hungry.
Oh, yeah.
And I found that, about day 3, I start sleeping like a baby.
Jeez. I've never heard of him. I've heard of other mediums, medical mediums, not him though. Is he? Okay. And
a lot of books. Anthony Williams. Liver Rescue.
Liver Rescue. Okay.
And then there's a companion book to that called, what is it? Cleanse to Heal. And it has the more advanced recommendations in it.
Okay.
I recommend that to people just because I haven't found the perfect detox plan. And I honestly think that it can be unique to everybody, just like not any one person does paleo or keto or Mediterranean. It's all different for every person.
So that compared to, let's say, providing them a bunch of supplements, like let's say, here's glutathione, here's, so you would more recommend like whole foods like that. Is that your main go-to, or?
That's my main go-to for several reasons, because they can be eating junk and taking glutathione, and all the glutathione is doing is neutralizing the junk, right?
Yeah.
And if the body's really supported with the sulfur-containing vegetables, we're going to create that glutathione that we need.
Yeah. Have you ever felt bloating yourself from cruciferous vegetables? I know myself sometimes, like baked tends to be better for me, but like raw cauliflower or broccoli, like with a dip or something, no.
I think that's a microbiome thing. I really do like how our microbiomes metabolize that fiber.
Okay.
And I know that going into this liver rescue diet before, I've experienced bloating that resolves completely by the end.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so and you don't, what's the word? You don't recommend one diet over the other. Like it's just like whatever works, right? I mean,
Oh, you know what I've been getting into lately is nutrigenomic testing.
oh,
So taking your genes, your analysis from 23andMe or Ancestry,
yeah.
and putting them through a calculator. The one I've really liked the most is mygenefood.com.
Yeah, there's a few.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and then it resonated with how my body wanted to eat anyway. And I've been helping some perimenopausal, menopausal women
Mm.
with their whole plan using that. And they said that was like the missing link. Now they know how to eat and they're just dialing it in.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so the sleep hacks would be like, I don't mean like, closing the blinds and
Yeah.
nothing. No, I mean like, like, so what you're saying is let's look at your diet. If you're not sleeping well, let's look at your diet. And so would you say the number one thing is maybe suggesting some sort of like detox, like cleansing diet?
So it's so multifactorial, right?
It's what?
It's multifactorial.
Yeah.
Getting the inflammation down. So cleaning up the diet, making sure we're finished eating by 6 p.m. or 3 hours before we go to sleep. No alcohol, no caffeine.
Yeah.
I might have a cup of green tea in the morning. And when I detox from that, it's helpful.
Yeah.
If I'm wound up in the evening, I don't sleep well. And doing something as simple as like a supported child's pose before going to sleep really helps stimulate that vagus nerve.
Yeah.
Epsom salt bath, foot massage, sitting in the hot tub.
Yeah.
Turning the lights down an
an
hour or two before you go to sleep, soft music, taking all the stimulation out.
Yeah.
And getting good retinal sun exposure early in the day. So, not everything to help sleep that night is around sleep time.
Right.
Getting that sun exposure early in the day. Those are my big hacks. Like and avoiding the screen, getting the phone down. So if I know that I'm going way too fast, I'll dump the clean laundry on my bed. So that laundry folding is my activity before I go to sleep. And I'm off my phone.
Yeah. That's a typical woman. Yeah. Let's fold laundry. Oh my God.
Yeah. It's meditative. You don't get distracted.
It's true.
It's nice. It's helpful.
Yeah. I love classical music. I love, like you say, some of those, child's pose, definitely dimming the light, prayer, meditation. I've gotten to the point now where I used to like read, but now I just I prop myself up on my bed and I just, whether it's just contemplative thought, but it's all good thoughts. Like it's all, joyful. Maybe it's thoughts of gratitude. I don't even know. Maybe it's prayer, but like, I find I'm out like a light. Like if I'm just doing that, like sometimes reading might be even too stimulating for people. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Gratitude journal is nice. Saying 3 things that you're grateful for and why makes you dig in a little bit more and really appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's go into the other fun topic of constipation. Why do we get constipated and what can we do about it?
I think of course, there's not just one.
No.
And I'll start with, I think that there are some microbiome. I know there are some microbiome taxa that are really instrumental in keeping our bowels regular. And if the microbiome is out of balance, that's one thing. And that's possible to change with the diet. Inflammation's going to potentially make us constipated. Dairy, gluten, all of that.
Yeah.
Those are just like the big things.
Yeah.
Dehydration.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a big one. And not, so constipation, bowel movements are the end of the digestive cycle. So the beginning, like, are we enjoying our food? Are we eating relaxed? Are we taking in the smells? Are we completely digesting? So even adding hydrochloric acid to your meal regimen 5 to 10 minutes before you start eating can help with constipation. It just gets that digestion more robust.
Yeah. And for those I'm just going to say, for those of you that aren't familiar with what HCl, hydrochloric acid, is a natural acid that we produce in our stomach. Thanks, dog. Produce in our stomach that as we age, is produced less and less, just simply from aging. But also, as you said, I mean, I think, stress can affect secretion of hydrochloric acid. And so I know it's a common complaint, right? Like, I mean, even my husband, like, we're both 55, and he used to eat steak a lot. And now he says, I just can't do it. And I said, take some HCl. And he's like, no, see, like, he'd rather just not eat it. But yeah.
And it's okay I think it's okay to get the help, because we need the protein as we age.
Yeah.
We need the muscle mass. We get our muscles waste, and we really have an increased protein requirement as we age.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the GI aspect of constipation. And there's probably more that I'm missing. Those are the big things that I look to. Okay.
So how about, like, there's so many people running out and getting Metamucil, like, and that's the other thing. There's so many, Senecot and, there's still X-Lax on the shelf as far as I can remember. So what do you think about all those, like, props, all those other, like, I don't know, ways of trying to get the bowel movements?
Yeah. So I think I like Metamucil. I like psyllium husks.
Yeah.
Metamucil is more psyllium husk powder.
Yeah.
I personally find it doesn't work as well.
Okay.
And it nourishes that. It's soluble and insoluble fiber. It's the soluble fiber that you really want. When you put it in water, you really can't see it, or it changes it just slightly, because that's what our microbiome eats. That's what feeds the microbiome.
Right.
So we do take a mix of soluble and insoluble fiber every morning. I do take athletic greens every morning. It has prebiotics. And these soluble fibers are called prebiotics. And they can be found in vegetables like leeks. Leeks have inulin, and Jerusalem artichokes are high in inulin. And there are other, super beneficial prebiotic fibers. That's why it's important to eat a variety of vegetables, and variety in color and type, and, just go into the vegetable section. I just look and see who wants to come home with me, really. Who's asking to come home with me, and they get put in the basket.
Yeah.
So that variety, and adding a little extra. The other prebiotic fiber that I love for constipation is aloe.
Aloe.
Yeah, aloe is super helpful. It doesn't taste very good. You can get capsules of aloe. It can be gentle. So those are the prebiotics, the fibers that I would recommend. And I would always recommend those over things like Miralax, which I've heard can be implicated in leaky gut. I have not read the study.
Mm.
And the pharmaceuticals.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's better to nourish the microbiome.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
in the end, Luella, I tell women, whatever it takes to get your bowels moving,
I know.
do it.
Because that's a form of detox. Well, actually, yeah. Like, see, and that's how the elderly can get into a real bad cycle. Like when you think about it, if they need to detox the liver to improve their sleep and they're not having a bowel movement, then that's a recipe for disaster.
Right.
Yeah.
Actually, I think my first glimpse into functional medicine was, I might have been like early in residency. I would get these people sent to the GYN clinic for, pelvic pain,
Oh,
Yeah. And so if someone has pelvic pain, they get referred to the gynecologist. Pregnant women, pelvic pain, oh, I've got this pain. It's usually left lower quadrant.
Mm-hmm.
And what's in the left lower quadrant? The sigmoid colon, the rectum. It's all right there.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next question is, when was your last bowel movement?
Right.
So constipation quickly became one of my favorite diagnoses because I could do so much. I could tell more water, drink more water, take some Metamucil.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember one woman said, I drove 2 hours for you to tell me to drink more water. And I said, I think it's the best thing to try first. And then she came back, 2 weeks later and said, I'm good.
That's it's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and like, I don't know what you think about recommendation in terms of how much tea or water or something like that. But I always just think that, so that your urine is a very light yellow. If it's a dark yellow, you're not drinking enough, or, and for as far as a bowel movement goes, at least once a day, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Optimally in the morning. Yeah. And a good rule of thumb is to take your weight in pounds.
Yeah.
And half it, and that's how many ounces you should drink a day.
Okay. I thought you were going to say that. I thought you were going to say something.
That's minimum.
You scared me for a second. I thought you were going to do something about weighing the bowel movement. I was like, okay, you're
no.
Okay.
No. And I've also learned that getting that in the first 8 hours of being awake is super beneficial.
Yeah.
And I found, when I start to get hangry, the first thing that I really should do is drink a bunch of water and see how I feel.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing you didn't mention, and I'm going to let you go here soon, but I personally feel is very helpful, and I take it every night, is magnesium citrate for bowel movement. Yeah. And
it can be.
Go ahead.
It is super helpful. It's more of an osmotic thing. It just it pulls water into the stool, into the colon, and that's how it works. And if we can get that benefit by adding prebiotic fibers, I think in the long run it's more beneficial.
You're right, because the prebiotic fiber is helping your GI system more. It's feeding those microbes in your gut.
Yeah.
So so give us an example of prebiotics again. You said Jerusalem artichoke, asparagus,
really anything. Leeks are another good source.
Onion, garlic, I think.
They're all good. Green tea is another good prebiotic.
Yeah. And coffee is actually, I don't know if you knew this, but it's actually fiber enriched, prebiotic, but just, maybe decaf, after, whatever time. I personally drink my caffeinated coffee before 7 a.m. and that's it for me. Yeah. So, I don't
want to finish a conversation on constipation without talking about vagus nerve again.
Oh yeah, right. Okay, please, yeah. Tell us.
Super important. So, when we're traveling, people tend to get constipated.
That's me.
So,
Tomorrow I'm leaving. So please, tell me.
yeah, I carry a bottle of aloe capsules in my suitcase.
Okay.
I also carry the magnesium citrate.
Yeah.
A little bottle of that.
Yeah.
Just keeping it regular, really.
Yeah.
Staying hydrated.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to drink tons on the flight. I'm also I don't normally take melatonin, but I think I'll bring that along too in my carry-on. Yeah. Do you use that at all?
I do. I do. I like melatonin. At pharmacologic doses, at higher doses, it can be anti-inflammatory.
Yeah, right. We found that out during COVID.
Right.
Yeah. And what do you think of, my mom actually just recently tried ashwagandha, and she says she now is able to sleep till 5 a.m. So that's, I remember that was we heard that a lot during our training, and for some reason it dropped off the radar for me. And I was like, oh yeah, especially for adrenal fatigue, right? And these women that are overdoing it and burnt out. It's such a great herb.
Yeah, ashwagandha is really good for all 3 stages of adrenal fatigue.
Yes.
So it can just be used. It's usually better taken 3 times a day. And if it works for your mom, taken at bedtime.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's great, Beth. Anything else you want to leave our listeners with about what you're doing? And
yeah, I just want to make a plug for meditation.
Oh yes, let's do that. Yeah.
If we want to, mindfulness-based stress reduction is one program that I teach. There are many different forms of it. Mindfulness-based cognitive behavioral therapy, mindfulness, self-compassion. There are many different routes to a mindfulness practice. And that has been super helpful for me personally. And I teach classes regularly, and I watch people. I watch their entire countenance change as they become more aware of what's happening in the present moment. Yeah.
Yeah, it's huge. Just mindfulness, awareness, and then the using the breath to calm the mind. And to drop into that parasympathetic state. It's so powerful. I know breath work is underrated. So
for all of the things that we talked about today, the hormonal regulation, the sleep, and the constipation, mindfulness practice and awareness of breath, or even, focused breath work. They can all be so profoundly impactful.
Yeah, I'm all the therapies, give me all of them, whether it's massage, whether it's acupuncture, whether it's myofascial release, energy healing work, yoga. It's just we have these things all available, and we tell ourselves we're too busy to access them, and then we're wondering why our body's falling apart and why we can't sleep and why we're constipated.
And some of the best practices I've found are free.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's there.
It's there. As we're talking right now, I have my window open, and spring is finally here, and I'm just hearing the birds, and I'm just oh my God, I just nothing's better to me. Bird song. Yeah. So, all right. Well, I'll let you get on with your evening. I know you have another, you're doing a summit interview tonight or something
coming up. Yes.
Okay. So I'll let you, oh my God. Okay. I'll let you go. And thanks so much for making time for me today. I know it was sort of last minute, and my pleasure. We'll stay in touch, Beth. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thanks once again for joining me on another great episode of I Think I Can podcast. If you liked it, please subscribe below so you don't miss out on any future episodes. And until next week, treat each day like it was your last, because each new day is a privilege that we shan't take for granted. Cheers and have a great week. Bye-bye.